Yeah, this is Mother's Day, Sunday, 14th of March, 2021. So I thought, let me do an upload. This is because I received some communication from my brother on New Year's Day this year that I was sleeping. In the afternoon, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think that's when I think I dropped asleep and I was in a deep sleep. And the doorbell rang. I thought, what the fuck is this? I didn't know what day it was. I thought, oh, there was some Amazon going to deliver something. I didn't know what was going on because I must have been sleeping about an hour. So I wrote down some notes, about 7 pages of stuff. Because I've done upload before. I started uploading. And I forgot what I was uploading about. Damn, it's the main point, the main ingredients of the upload wasn't there. I just sit there waffling, talking shit. So I've written down 7 pages of notes. It might be a little bit of improvisation, but let's keep it in sweet. Alright. First. Okay, on the 1st of January 2021, my brother Gabriel rang my doorbell and told me that my sister and her ex-husband Neil Morrison was involved in stealing hundreds of thousands of pounds from my parents. They duped him in some scam. I think they said they were going to sell the house for them or something to that effect, and they put certain monies in their account. So that's hundreds of thousands of pounds that they stolen. Anyway, I first heard this about 4 years ago, about 3 3/4 years ago, when I was going to Norbury, going to this buyback place. Like it sells all kinds of electronic stuff and other stuff, and it's called Cash Converters. And I was going to Norbury like 3 3/4 years ago, and I was just going there, and I bumped into my brother Derek, and he said, "Oh, he's going to the he was on his way to the Barbers, which is situated right next to right next door to Norbury train station." And he started chatting, and this is when I first heard this shit. He turned around and said, "Oh," but he didn't tell me about the situation that was involved with my sister's ex-husband, because she was involved in it and stuff. Well, I didn't find out this until to the 1st of January. Oh, to my surprise, but he could be lying. It could be a lie. So I'm not going to go commit myself saying it's the truth, because they could just be making that shit up. Because that's what I thought 3 3/4 years ago. Derek said, "Oh, my brother, Danny." Derek said, "Oh," well, sorry, Norbury said, "Oh, Danny there stole tens of thousands of money of Dad, because Dad gave him some money to put into the bank." My father's about something like 80 plus year old, 87 year old around that time or something like that. And he gave him money, tens of thousands of pounds. I don't know exactly how much it was, to put in the bank. And he didn't put it in the bank. He bought other stuff, and mostly drugs. Mostly spent at least 50% on drugs, if I know. It was just like how he is. About that. Anyway, that's why I wrote this shit down. I've got 7 pages. I'm just going to quickly read it out. Quick upload. Alright, let me start again. Alright, my brother Gabriel rang my doorbell, told me that my ex-wife's sister and her ex-husband was involved in stealing hundreds of thousands of pounds off my parents. About 4 years ago, I saw my brother Derek in Norbury, and I remember I was going there for a buyback loan from a shop called Cash Exchange, and he said he was going to the Barbers right next to the Norbury train station, and told me that Derek said that my father gave him money to put in the bank for him, but he didn't. And he must be probably sold it on drugs. I'm still in shock that my sister Sheila was involved in stealing off my parents. I didn't think she was capable of it. But I'll tell you this, I didn't write this down. I was in a real bad way when I was in a really, really bad way back in the mid-90s. I got kicked out of my place where I was before, because I just completely out of my mind. I was at my parents and stuff. I was just there sitting in the room, just talking to myself and stuff, and going crazy, just having arguments with myself and stuff. And I remember my sister was there around that time. I don't remember exactly what year it was. Was it 94? Because I was there from 93 to 97 and 98. I was there 3 4 years or some shit. And there was a time in the early stages. I don't remember exactly what it was between. Could have been between 94 and 96. My sister was around, and she was there with Neil Morrison was around. But at the same time, in that period of time, she was still seeing an ex-boyfriend. His name is this white guy. He was also white. His name is Nick. I've got his surname. And he came around a couple of occasions, and they were actually going at it, kind of thing. But I don't know. I think she was still married to Neil. I don't know if she was. I didn't ask her nothing. I didn't talk to her nothing. I just was looking upon what was going on. I wasn't saying anything. I was hardly saying a word to any of them in them years. Anyway, but there's a period in that I think it could have been 94, 95, 96. My sister and her husband, they went to Bolton to stay there for a couple of weeks. And for a split second, I think that was completely out of my mind. Only for about a couple of seconds, I'm sitting there thinking, what? They're going to see that fucking ex-wife of mine. Knowing that she weren't no good. I remember the very first conversation she said she was looking for some old guy and everything. She said she was going to go off with him and stuff and steal his money. Gold digger. That was one of the first things she actually told me. I didn't know she was going to go sitting at the plans there in my parents. Remember, they just found this out. It was just told me on the 1st of January by my brother Gabriel. I'm going to take the first. Alright, I woke up. Alright. I'll get back to reading. I forgot what page it was. I'll get back to that. Yeah, on the 1st, I was sleeping. And the doorbell rang. I could have been sleeping. I was in a deep sleep for about an hour. I didn't know what. When I woke up, I thought, what the hell is this? Suddenly, the doorbell ring. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's the postman or something from Amazon. And I've been ordering stuff from them regularly because of what I said months and months ago before people are messing around my post. So I just then got click and collect. I'll just leave it. Anyway, when the doorbell rang, I ran up to the doorbell. I said, here, I jumped out. I didn't know what day it was. I thought, what the fuck is this? I got to the intercom and said, who's this? Who is this? This is your brother. First and foremost, I didn't recognize the motherfucker's voice. I said, what brother is that? This is your brother. I said, what brother? This must have been got no word about this. This went on for about 30 seconds. Who is it? Your brother. What brother is that? Your brother. And after about 30 seconds, seriously, about 30 seconds, he suddenly said, oh, Gabriel. I didn't recognize his voice because I hardly ever spoke to him. And the way he used to talk gangland tip. Couldn't understand the words he said, so I didn't recognize his voice. So what I did, I went downstairs, I didn't buzz him in. Oh, I said, hold on a minute. So I got my keys, make sure I got my keys and stuff. And then I went down the stairs. I went down the stairs just to make sure, because I wasn't too sure. It could have been a prank. And it was kind of him, kind of recognized him, because I haven't seen him for like years and years and years and years. He's about we've seen him about a couple of times in the past couple of decades. I saw him like he came around once with my brother Danny. He's more drug dealer than my brother. I phoned him up. There was no right. Didn't have any connection with any drug dealers and everything. So around that period, I thought, I need to get some drugs. So I thought, let me call him. I bumped into him. I said, get his number. Let me call him and see if we can get some drugs. So I'll get you some drugs. I'll be around in about something like 20 minutes for like 20, 30 pounds again. I'll give him a wheelchair. I had to give him a little bit of doing the errands and stuff. Like £10. I had to pay him like £10. So I'll give him a £10 drug for it. Anyway, yeah, this was really bad because on the 1st of January, when my brother rang the doorbell, when I went downstairs, he was like getting up real close and shouting. He was like flexing up. I thought, what are you doing flexing up? What is this? What are you doing? Ringing my doorbell and flexing up like that. He turned around saying, oh, my brother Dennis supposedly just died on the 24th of December and my father died. Remember, I'm not too sure. It could be lying. I'm going to need some proper confirmation because they know I was telling people that meant to have everything. I was telling them everything, so they could have just made up. Think, oh, let me go tell them this. Oh, he's talking shit. These motherfuckers are alive and stuff. So I don't know. So I haven't got no confirmation, but I'll get the confirmation in time. So I still don't believe it. Anyway, I don't know how long it was like. It wasn't talking. It's more like arguing. I mean, shouting. He was talking a whole heap of shit and stuff. And it's like he was on. And there's this woman that she lived like a few yards away in the balcony. She had to came out in the balcony because she must have heard what was going on. It was like most people was out there, all the lights in the houses wasn't. What I thought was really strange. But this woman, she came to a balcony. It was about something like in this block of flats near my flats, about 15 yards away. And she was listening to what's going on. I just looked over for a second. I just noticed it. I thought back and just carrying on going at it and stuff. And he's telling me that, oh, my brother Dennis has just died and my father has just died.
Now, first and foremost, at the end of the day, I'm saying this is some kind of setup and everything. Because I mean, it's the very first time that he's rang my doorbell and came around in his arms. He's only reached around twice. First time he came around was late 2008 when I bumped into my brother and I gave him my number and my address reluctantly. And weeks later he came around with Gabriel. Didn't really say too much because he was putting around some jokes and this guy. That's the only time he ever came. That's the only time he stepped foot. He didn't step foot in my yard. It was outside the community area. And he's going on about some stuff. So I'm not too sure if it's the truth, if they died. But he doesn't come out here. And I said something to him, and he said, oh, because when I was staying in the house, in my parents' house back in the 90s, between 93 and 96 or whatever, 97, there was a time where he went off to Bolton to stay at my ex-wife's house. He didn't say one word to me before he went there and when he came back and stuff. Because what happened is, I went there once because my parents was like, let me pay for your trip because you're really in a bad way. So just get out the house kind of thing and go and visit her because she was still in contact with my sister and everything. She's close with my sister for some strange reason. But if anybody knew the true story, they'll turn around. Like, everybody back in the day was telling me, say, no, I was fully aware that even my ex-wife's mother turned around and said, but I knew that. I thought, nothing. Because it was Melvin who introduced me, because he's the guy. He introduced me to her because he knew her. This guy Melvin used to dance in IDJ. He knew her before I did. He introduced me to her and everything. That's what I wasn't going with. When I went back to London, she went with Maurice Buchanan. He was like another ex-IDJ. There's Mark Sandalari who went to Maurice Buchanan's house with this other black guy who picked her up and everything and brought her to my place. Oh, you doing anything? Because there's this girl that needs like someone to stay for the night. Because then Mark was doing some other shit. And it was around the time of the Nottingham Carnival back in 1984. I thought, I'm not really doing anything right now. I'm going out there later on. He said, oh. I said, okay. And he brought her around and stuff. But there's lots and lots of guys that was going on there. So it didn't really mean anything to me. But it's really strange that it's like no one's told members of my family that and they know them close. So it must be some kind of scam. I mean, I don't know why they're still telling that lie as though they were kids of us, got anything to do with it. Anyway, he went to Bolton for about, I don't remember how long. Could have been about a week or so, a few days, or 3-4 days. Didn't say a word. This wasn't my kids. Didn't say a word. So what I'm saying is, we wasn't close, and we ever hardly talked. Nothing to do with that. I mentioned. I said, I said, how are you, my brother? I said, what about that time when you went there? Went to that Quarter Bridge yard, everything, whatever. Anyway, I'm going offline again, so I'm not reading from the shit. So I'm gonna get back online. I'm gonna quickly read this. It's supposed to be like 3 minutes. See, that's what happens. That's why I write the shit down. Okay, where's the last thing I wrote? Okay, most of my brother, most respect the money we stole my father drugs, and I'm still in shock that my sister Sheila stole from my parents. Because what they tell me, they say, oh, stole from father or stole from mother, and it's different occasions. But it was both of them money. They had joint account, so so I don't know why they separated the mother and the father. They stole from my parents, but it's both of them money. They didn't have separate money. And the house has been both in the name and stuff. So they all stole from mum, stole from dad. They said, no. They have never once said that stole from their parents. I don't know why they do that. I think they're playing mind games with me. Anyway, where did I get? Okay, I'm on page 4. There's only 7 pages. Shit, I got it here. Or did I read page 3? Okay, this all means there's no possibility of my parents having money to leave for me in the will if they stole that money. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, which is understandable, and there's like a normal person and that happens and stuff, I'm sure they will fall out and not speak to them until they pay back all the money they've stolen times 2, double the amount, but not to me. Give it to my oldest niece, my brother Dennis' first daughter. Apparently he beat her up, broke arms, legs, and other stuff. And this is when she was about 3-4 months old, and that's why the only reason that's why he ended up in prison. Now he's got a criminal record, and that's the only thing I think he ended up in prison for. That's why I don't associate with motherfuckers. Call him, say, once or twice in the last few decades and stuff. I said, about 20 odd years ago, when I was in my parents' house to get some drugs and stuff, I'll get you a £5 drug, £10 drug, and that's what it was. I didn't sit there having conversation. I was close with them. Anyway, money, and they tell me my father just died. I don't believe that. Gabriel also told me on the 1st of January that my father just died, but at the end of the day, I don't believe that. I don't know why I don't just read up this shit. Alright, let's look at the reviews. There'll be some other uploads about it later on. But if it is true, I don't want to associate or have any connection with anybody who benefited from that fraud. This is totally understandable. I'm falling out with all them that's involved. Not until they give back all the money times two, pay back double and give it to charity, Greyhound Dogs charity. Because years ago I was watching RPG TV, which is Greyhound TV station, where I was just watching the Greyhound races and the people that used to present the show once or twice mentioned that they're asking for people to donate money, because when the Greyhounds, the racing Greyhounds, when they retired, they're just dumped and nobody really cares, and they're looking for people in there to look after them and stuff. And my parents used to always love putting money in the Greyhound, so I said, not give the money to me, I'm not going after the money. Give it to a Greyhound or give it to Karen, because I'm sure the authorities can contact her, and she's dead. Give it to a foster parents that looked after her from when she was about less than 1 year old and stuff. I don't know how old she is, late 30s or some shit. Never met her or anything. Never spoke to her. My brother once told me, around that time, having told me, I said, a picture of Karen is at the front newspaper of the South London Press. Obviously, they show the band who's up and everything, but that's like bad crimes and stuff. And he actually told me it was my brother's wife, Jennifer, that did it, but he took the blame because they wouldn't have been able to keep hold of the kids, something to that effect. I wrote him a letter about it recently. And I wrote him another letter on that I've got it dated, and I've got the proof of posting and everything on the 11th of November last year, about why they keep on telling these lies. I'm talking about how I first met my wife and I've been through Melbourne and all these other guys, and why they carry on making that shit's got nothing to do. I haven't seen that for like 26 years or more. Like I'm interested in communicating with that fucker. And after what she's done to my parents, that's it. Like, even if she didn't do that to my parents, I would have no reason to want to associate with her anyway. We wasn't together and stuff. Most of the time, I knew her I met her in '84, and apparently, the last time she supposedly left me in 1989. But in that 5 year space of time, she was in Bolton most of the time. She had jobs. She was there going out with her ex-boyfriend Daniel for about a year and a half and stuff. I mean, we wasn't together in that 5 years. We was only getting together in all them 5 years for about less than 3/4 of a year. And even then, we wasn't together because I was going to clubs. I had other girlfriends and stuff. It wasn't anything serious or anything. It's a little bit complicated, but the people that know her and members of my family and even the people of IJ, they can explain. Because even at the time, some of them was actually turning around saying to that effect, but I'll come at that enough upload maybe later on down the line. Okay, where am I? Yeah, give that money to charity, Greyhound Dogs Home, or to my oldest niece, Karen. I'm sure the authorities can track her whereabouts, or give it to her foster parents, or divide it between the foster parents' family. So they can't turn around and say, I'm looking at the end of the day to go and get the money. This is just no stuff I wrote down. I'm talking about other stuff, waffling and I forget what the fuck I'm doing over the upload. Who looked after Karen, who was hospitalized when around 3 to 4 months old. Gabriel told me my brother Dennis also died, but I don't give a shit about that fat child abuser. Okay, so that'll be my final note. I just made notes. This wasn't no letter. I just wrote it down quickly so I could say, this is the upload. So what happened when they wrote this down, they've been talking about some other shit, talking about some fucking shit from the 80s and stuff. I've forgotten why I uploaded. And it's Mother's Day today, so obviously, because they tell me, so they think about nothing. I'm tapped against when they're so brave. They say, I don't care about my mother, so they're so flamboyant with their attitudes. But if they can do that to my parents, I don't want people like that near me. I mean, imagine what they want to fuck up my shit, so I don't want any element of any of them around me, even their friends, even including like the neighbours. Because the guy downstairs, directly downstairs, is like this black guy. He talks in Jamaican. I think he was maybe born in Jamaica. I don't know. He went to Tulse Hill School with my brother, and there's another guy, that white guy. He's friends with him, so I don't associate with them because they could have maybe possibly have benefited from that money in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I haven't spoken to that neighbour for months and months, and they just make things up and shit. And I talk to them. If I'm going to the post and everything, and he's just standing there. I don't say anything, I'm not saying nothing. It's like he's maybe wired and shit. Don't know what's going on. Don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with them people. I'm not going to associate with any of them who may be involved in that money, because they can maybe, the first maybe one day going to maybe ask, how does my brother know? How did they meet and stuff? I'd be really interested in how they met and stuff. But I think they're going to want to avoid them questions like that, because brother's criminal, their money for that white man's criminal activities. I think a couple of times I buzzed in the police, because I got in trouble a couple of times over a decade, just 11 years ago. And a couple of times the police came around and they buzzed somebody else is to let them in, and they banging on my door. I didn't buzz them because somebody else was buzzing in. And a couple of times after that, a couple of years after that, I wasn't getting in trouble with it. The police rang my doorbell and stuff and said, "Oh, can you let us in, please?" And I was opening the door and I'm looking downstairs to make sure, because I'm not going to say that. It's to verify that the police and stuff. And then after about something like 10 seconds or whatever, 12 seconds, I'm letting them in. And I seen him getting arrested on a couple of occasions. And I've seen some stuff. And he doesn't ride a motorbike, and he's got his gun has got it covered up and stuff. And there's a lot of that stuff going on where things were getting stolen. I said, just look out the window and I see police there holding up black guys on mopeds and stuff, and questioning them for about half an hour. So there's like 2 police vans and police cars and everything. 1 or 2 got let go, and some of them they apprehended them and stuff. There's a lot of criminality going on in this area, and it still does. But it was a lot. I mean, police were coming around asking everybody who had access to who can view that there's a school across the road, and there's a big van of textile stuff, because I think they were like, I don't know what it was doing. They were refurbishing something, and somebody's went in there and stole all that stuff. Like thousands and thousands of pounds worth of stuff. After I said, I didn't see anything. So there's a lot of crime that goes on in the area and stuff. And he's a fucking criminal, and he doesn't say to me, I just keep myself to myself. Whatever he's doing, cool, man. I don't want him anywhere near me, working as a spy for certain members of my family and stuff. So even people might look at me and say, "Oh, his brother." Oh, his brother. They're thinking that he's got. My brother ain't got the same colour skin as me. And there's a lot of problems with that, because apparently, obviously, they were kind of racist towards me because my skin is darker than them. Nobody, apart from my mother. My mother's got the same colour skin as the other one. They've got lighter skin. He used to see me and see my brother. He went to me one day to turn around and say he's my brother. And they put something in my post box about 2 weeks ago. It's helping me to about 10 days ago, I went into my post, and this was dropped into my post. This thing. Supposedly my brother that he did. There's no envelope, no letter, no nothing. It's about some shit about his funeral. But to tell myself my father, what about the shit about my father? You know what I'm saying? I'm not supposed to care about that fat cunt child abuse more than my brother, more than my father. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a flying fuck about that fat cunt child abuse. I hope he's fucking burning in hell for that shit. Find out what he done, people terrorists. He should burn in hell for that. I don't know what this address is and that shit, but any fucking body can fucking design some shit like that. 10-year-old kid can fucking go on the computer and design it. It's got these pictures. I recognize one person with all these pictures. I recognize his wife, Jennifer. There's all these pictures of all these I don't even recognize any of them. No members of none of the other siblings, yeah? Maybe because they know I'm supposed to put it online and show. Maybe later when I go into details and show the shit, but I don't believe that's the case. I don't want me some verification. Maybe they're just trying to yank my chains and let's have a laugh. Anybody can design a car like that. 10-year-old can design a car like this. I'm not tech savvy, but nothing complicated about designing some cars. I don't know if it's the truth. I don't know why they put that shit in my fucking post for. Anyway, this is my Mother's Day upload. They must be thinking, because I said a couple of things about it. I'm gonna
I'm not really going to necessarily care. But that's not fair enough, because she said, apparently they turn around and say, oh, she's got dementia and she's in the home. But they don't mention anything about that. They said once in that year. This years ago. Anything that's strange, and they're going out their way putting shit like that in my post, but telling me to care about that motherfucker more than my parents. No, they're wrong about that. Now, there ain't gonna be no caring about any man of those that do stuff like that. Stealing up, none of that. Totally unforgivable.